This story didn't scream for attention. But signs were always there. You just need to look closer. This is hidden witness. She was playing outside. Then she vanished. The Rachael Runyan case. August 26, 1982. It was an ordinary summer afternoon in Sunset, Utah. Children were outside. The neighborhood was familiar. And 3-year-old Rachael Marie Runyan was playing near her home. There was nothing about that afternoon that suggested something terrible was about to happen. Her mother was nearby. Rachael was with other children. The distance between the playground and her home was short. It was the kind of place where a parent could believe their child was safe. But sometime around 12:30 in the afternoon, a stranger approached the children. And within minutes, Rachael was gone. What followed became one of Utah's most heartbreaking and enduring unsolved child abduction cases. For 44 years, one question has remained. Who took Rachael Runyan? Cinematic recreation of a quiet Utah neighborhood in Sunset, Utah, August 26, 1982, bright summer afternoon, elementary school playground visible nearby, a few children playing, vintage 1980s cars, peaceful suburban atmosphere with an unsettling sense of foreshadowing, realistic documentary photography, photorealistic, 16. 9. No text, no gore. Rachael Marie Runyan was born on June 23, 1979. She was just 3 years old in the summer of 1982. To the outside world, she was a little girl growing up in a normal Utah neighborhood. To her family, she was everything. She had a mother, a father, siblings, a home, a childhood. And on August 26, she was doing something completely ordinary. She was playing outside. But that ordinary afternoon would become the last time her family saw her alive. Respectful 1982 family recreation showing a happy 3-year-old American girl playing outside with siblings, summer clothing, suburban Utah home, warm afternoon sunlight, vintage family film aesthetic, photorealistic, emotional documentary style, 16:9. The playground was near Doxey Elementary School. It was close enough to Rachael's home that her mother could keep an eye on the children. According to later accounts, Rachael's mother, Elaine, was inside preparing lunch. She could see the children from the kitchen window. Everything appeared normal. Until a stranger arrived. 1982 Doxey Elementary School playground in Sunset, Utah, several young children playing on vintage playground equipment, quiet residential neighborhood surrounding the school, summer noon sunlight, period-accurate details, realistic true crime documentary recreation, 16:9. A man approached the children. According to investigators, he spoke to them. He reportedly offered them ice cream. It was a simple invitation. Something that might sound harmless to a child. But it wasn't. The man took Rachael. And somehow, he managed to get her away from the playground. The exact sequence of those moments has been reconstructed over decades. But the most important fact has never changed. Rachael was abducted in broad daylight. Mysterious adult male seen from a distance approaching a 1982 elementary school playground, face intentionally obscured and not identifiable, children playing in the background, bright summer afternoon, unsettling but non-graphic true crime recreation, cinematic photorealism, 16:9. At first, Rachael's family didn't know what had happened. Then they realized she wasn't there. A child who had been playing outside was suddenly missing. The family began searching. Neighbors became involved. And very quickly, law enforcement was called. For Rachael's parents, those first moments must have felt impossible. A 3-year-old doesn't simply disappear. Someone had taken her. And someone knew where she was. Empty playground in bright Utah afternoon, one small child's toy left on the ground, residential homes visible beyond the playground, parents searching anxiously in the distance, emotional and respectful true crime documentary style, photorealistic, 16:9. The search for Rachael expanded rapidly. Police officers searched the neighborhood. Volunteers joined in. People checked nearby roads and open areas. Investigators began gathering descriptions. And the community started asking the same question. Who could have taken a little girl in the middle of the day? The case quickly became a major investigation. But there was another problem. The person responsible was already gone. 1982 law enforcement officers and volunteers searching a Utah neighborhood for a missing 3-year-old child, flashlights, police cars, neighbors checking yards and streets, emotional documentary recreation, period accurate, photorealistic, 16:9. Witnesses provided investigators with information about the man who had approached the children. A composite description was developed. But identifying a stranger from a brief encounter is incredibly difficult. Especially when the witness is a child. Investigators had to work with what little information was available. Every detail mattered. Every possible sighting mattered. Every vehicle. Every person who had been near the playground. But as the hours passed, Rachael remained missing. 1982 police sketch artist creating a composite drawing based on witness descriptions, investigators gathered around a desk, old photographs and notes, vintage law enforcement office, cinematic true crime documentary, photorealistic, 16:9. One day became several. Several became a week. Then another. Rachael's family kept hoping for a phone call. A sighting. A miracle. Anything. But no answer came. The investigation continued. And then, almost 3 weeks after Rachael disappeared, the case took a devastating turn. 1982 missing child investigation timeline, calendar pages turning from August into September, police evidence folders, newspaper headlines about missing Rachael Runyan, emotional cold case documentary aesthetic, photorealistic, 16:9. On September 19, 1982, human remains were discovered in a remote area near Mountain Green, Utah. Investigators eventually identified the remains as Rachael. The search for a missing child had become a homicide investigation. For her family, the hope of bringing Rachael home alive was gone. But one question became even more urgent. Who had taken her? And why? Remote Utah mountain area near Mountain Green, September 1982, law enforcement vehicles in the distance, investigators carefully searching a creek area, solemn atmosphere, no body shown, respectful true crime documentary style, photorealistic, 16:9. Investigators now knew Rachael had been abducted. They knew she had been murdered. They knew where her body was found. But they did not know who was responsible. And that missing piece would haunt the case for decades. Investigators followed leads. People were questioned. Tips came in. But none produced an arrest that solved the murder. Eventually, the years began to pass. 1982 detective standing around a large investigation board, photograph of missing child, maps of Sunset and Mountain Green, witness notes, newspaper clippings, investigators looking frustrated, cinematic cold case documentary, photorealistic, 16:9. Although Rachael's killer was never identified, her case had a lasting impact. The tragedy helped lead to the creation of the Rachael Alert System in Utah. The system was designed to rapidly notify the public when a child was abducted. It remained in use in Utah until 2003, when Utah adopted the National Amber Alert System. That means Rachael's name became connected to something bigger than her own case. Her disappearance helped change how authorities responded to child abductions. But for her family, a system named after Rachael could never replace Rachael. They wanted her killer found. 1980s Utah law enforcement officials discussing child abduction alert procedures, old police radios, maps and emergency communication equipment, symbolic recreation of new child safety system, cinematic documentary style, photorealistic, 16:9. The 1980s became the 1990s. Then came the 2000s. And eventually, the 2010s. Every decade brought new technology. DNA testing improved. Forensic science changed. Investigators gained tools that didn't exist in 1982. But the central mystery remained. Who was the man who approached those children? Where did he go after taking Rachael? Did someone know who he was? Did someone see something that they never reported? And could someone still remember something from that afternoon? Cold case evidence rooms spanning decades, old 1982 police files beside modern forensic technology, photographs, fingerprints, maps and evidence boxes, dramatic investigative lighting, photorealistic, 16:9. For most people, 44 years is almost an entire lifetime. For Rachael's family, it is 44 years of remembering. 44 years of wondering. 44 years of imagining what might have been. Rachael should have grown up. She should have gone to school. Made friends. Graduated. Built a life. Instead, her life ended before she even had the chance to understand the world around her. And the person responsible has never been held accountable. Respectful modern-day recreation of Rachael's family looking at an old childhood photograph, quiet home interior, framed photographs, soft natural light, emotional but dignified atmosphere, documentary photography, photorealistic, 16:9. This is what makes cold cases so haunting. Sometimes, the person who knows the answer isn't the killer. It could be someone who saw a vehicle. Someone who remembers a conversation. Someone who recognized the description. Someone who was told a secret years ago. Or someone who simply remembers being in Sunset, Utah on August 26, 1982. Maybe they thought what they saw wasn't important. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they were afraid. But 44 years later, even a small memory could matter. Older adults sitting alone looking through an old 1982 newspaper clipping, thoughtful expression, dim room, photograph of a Utah neighborhood on the table, atmosphere of buried memories and unresolved mystery, cinematic true crime style, photorealistic, 16:9. Rachael's case has never received the ending her family deserved. But that doesn't mean investigators have forgotten her. Utah continues to have cold case resources dedicated to unsolved crimes. The Weber Metro Cold Case Task Force describes its mission as using advanced forensics and modern investigative techniques to pursue unsolved cases and bring closure to families. And Rachael's story continues to receive public attention. Because awareness matters. Sometimes an old case becomes solvable because someone finally decides to speak. Modern Utah cold case investigators reviewing Rachael Runyan's 1982 case file, computer with forensic analysis, evidence folders, detective studying a large map, modern law enforcement office, cinematic documentary realism, photorealistic, 16:9. August 26, 1982. Was supposed to be another summer afternoon. A mother preparing lunch. Children playing. A 3-year-old girl enjoying the day. But one stranger changed everything. Rachael was taken. Her body was found weeks later. And the identity of the person responsible remains unknown. 44 years have passed. But the mystery hasn't disappeared. Because Rachael's story isn't really about a number. It's about a little girl who never got to grow up. It's about parents who lost their daughter. And it's about a question that has survived 4 decades. Who took Rachael Runyan? Modern Sunset, Utah neighborhood at sunset, quiet playground near Doxey Elementary School, empty swings moving gently in the breeze, emotional symbolic representation of a 44-year-old cold case, cinematic photorealistic documentary style, 16:9. Today, Rachael Runyan would be an adult. She would be 47 years old. She would have lived an entire lifetime that was taken from her before it had even begun. We cannot know what she would have become. But we can remember who she was. A 3-year-old little girl. A daughter. A sister. A child who was playing outside on a summer afternoon. And a victim whose case remains unsolved. 44 years later. Her name is still remembered. Her case is still discussed. And the question remains open. Who abducted Rachael Runyan? Who knew what happened? And is there someone out there who has carried the truth for all these years? Maybe the answer is hidden in an old memory. Maybe it's in a forgotten photograph. Maybe it's in something someone saw that afternoon. Or maybe the person who knows has simply never spoken. Until that changes, Rachael's case will remain one of Utah's most heartbreaking unsolved mysteries. She was 3 years old. She should have come home. And after 44 years, she deserves to be remembered. This is Hidden Witness. And some mysteries don't disappear with time. They wait. Beautiful emotional sunrise over a quiet Utah landscape, small memorial flowers near a playground, empty swing in the foreground, soft golden light, peaceful but haunting atmosphere, symbolic ending for an unsolved child abduction case, respectful documentary cinematography, photorealistic, 16:9, no text, no gore. Thanks for watching. If you saw what others missed, join the Hidden Witness. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the shadows.